New Year, everybody. Welcome to my first Uncensored and In Charge of 2026. It is a pleasure to be here today with you, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. I hope the end of your year was filled with lots of events, lots of organized chaos, and tremendous success in your sales. I hope that all of you were able to take a couple of minutes to just breathe and close out 2025, reflecting in such positive ways. And here we are at 26. We are 13 days in, and I hope so far so good. Maybe a little bit of calm and reorganizing and structure has come into your world. But today on our call, I am going to be talking about what our goals or what your goals for 2026 should be. And I do this with all of my clients. I think that it's something that's extremely rewarding for you, and especially rewarding at the end of this year. So before I really dive into this, one of the things that I do want to say is, if you are not a goal-focused person, which we all hopefully are, but if goals are just something that you start out with, you say, and then you feel like 36 days into them, they're done. I just want to say, make it this year's goal to try and stick with your goals so that you can be successful at the end of the year. One of the things that I have found very valuable is if we write down our goals, we have a stronger chance to achieve them. Okay. And how do we set goals for 2026 is going to kind of be something that we discuss. But I would like for everybody to reflect on their 2025 year, how it went. Maybe just in a simpler form. If you haven't done this already, make a little note. What were my highs? What were my lows? What was I most proud of? What could I have worked harder on? They don't have to be endless. It could be one or two items. But I think that reflecting on your prior year allows for you to set up your next year with such success and the real opportunity for growth and to make all of your goals and your aspirations and your positive thoughts come true. Okay. So here we go. We're going to start with 2026 should not be about doing more when we think about our goals, right? Sometimes people list out a lot of stuff. I always say, pick 3 personal goals, pick 3 professional goals that you would like to try and achieve. And I say try and achieve because it matters so greatly that you attempt to achieve it. And if you don't hit it, that you don't feel like a failure. And that is super important for us having individual growth, right? So I think what I would like for you to think about if you're setting goals that you haven't set yet is that it's not about doing more, but it's about doing what matters, okay? And goals only will work when they are paired with clarity, consistency, and courage. And that's extremely important for you to recognize, right? Clarity, consistency, and courage. And there are lots of things that break down into those specific things. How clear are you on what you want to achieve? How consistent are you going to be at the actions and practices that are going to take you there? And if it's a really bold goal, are you brave enough to understand that you could fail? And that takes a lot of courage, and there's nothing wrong with that. You might figure out a different way to achieve it if you fail the first time. So don't give up, right? So as I said, we're going to work on 3 professional goals, 3 personal goals, and how you can actively pursue them and achieve them, something that I feel is really important, okay? So how you should approach goals with the mindset, as I was saying, is clarity. You need to write down exactly what the goal looks like, right? So I'm going to pick personal goals, okay? So I would like to read more in 2026, okay? What would I like to read? So I would say I would choose maybe 5 professional books that I would like to attack, and I would like to choose 5 personal books that I would like to attack. And why do I think that these are invaluable? Because I've written down the name of the book, so I know exactly what I need to read. Okay. So that is clarity, really clarifying what it is that you need to do. Professional goal. If you want to set goals that you want to call 50 people a day, okay, what actions are going to take for you to get 50 calls a day in order to build sales, or call sleepy clients? You want to aim for 50 a week. I don't know how you want to set it up, but you want to clarify very specifically what it is that you want to get done, okay, and what done looks like. Systems. Okay. Habits and routines are all that you need to support your goals. Okay. So you wake up every day. I'm just going to use my reading as an example just because it's flowing for me. So you wake up every day and you read for maybe 5 or 10 minutes in the morning. Or if you have a long commute, I put on Audible and I listen to my book on tape in the car for the first 10 minutes, and then I have to go on and do my other things, and then at the end of the day I read another 10-15 minutes or another 5 chapters, whatever the system that I've got set up is going to allow. And I do that every single day. After 28 days I have a routine set and my habits begin, and I realize that I can't start my day or finish my day without hitting one of my books. Right? Systems are so important no matter what system you have, whether it's about setting up goals for New Year's resolutions, or whether it is having operational systems in place for your teams to succeed. Okay. So systems is a big thing that you need to make sure that you have in place for 2026, and your habits and routines, you have to stick to them, right? Accountability. Okay, so you've got clarity of what you're doing, you've got systems of how you're going to do it, and now we need accountability and making sure that we are tracking our progress and adjusting accordingly to how it's actually getting done, right? You need to focus less on motivation, more on momentum during this accountability phase so that you actually can see tangible results, right? And some people will have goals that are more tangible than others, and that is okay. But making sure that you're able to track the progress and adjust accordingly to it. So say 15 minutes in the morning is too much for me, and I need to spread it to the evening time. Then I know that I can't do it in the morning and I'll hit it at night. And I'm just going to add, maybe it's 5 more minutes. Maybe it can't be 15 from the morning to the evening. Maybe I can just do 5 more minutes. But you see how I'm showing you what you have to bend and be more flexible to, because there's tremendous value in recognizing that. Okay. So our mindset first is going to be about clarity, right? Knowing exactly what needs to get done and what it looks like. We're going to make sure your systems are in place and your habits and routines that support your goal are in place and clear as day for you. Okay. Then we're going to make sure that you've set up the accountability for you, tracking progress and adjusting accordingly. Less on motivation, right? More on momentum. That's a key part. Okay. So that's number 1 that I want you to have, the how you're going to approach your goals for 2026. Okay. Now, personal goals. I have a personal goal every year, and it's always about health and energy. So I'm going to share that today with you guys. Health and energy are probably 2 of the most important things, because without our health, we have zero. Doesn't matter, right? Recently, I've had some friends with some health stuff, and I have learned firsthand the importance of what health is. So this isn't about being perfect. Okay. We are going to set goals that are about sustaining us in whatever level sustaining we need. Okay. Health is the foundation that will allow for us to make every single other goal possible. Okay. You need your full body, your full mind ready and locked in to tune in to achieve anything that you are going to go after. Okay. So how are you going to do this? So for my health stuff, or for my health goal for the year, right? how am I going to go after it? Okay. So one of the things that's going to be a non-negotiable is you got to move every day. You got to sleep and the nutrition has to be there, right? Those three very important things. Building these habits into our schedules, if they're not already existing, are extremely important for all of us to understand. And as we build, we can add more, right? So don't go from 0 to 100. I feel like I do that at the beginning of every January. I feel very, invigorated and fired up and excited. And I go full throttle and, 13 days in, for example, I'm exhausted and knowing I'm pushing myself versus a gradual incline. Now, interestingly enough, normally in January, I try to make my goals as simple as possible because I feel like it's so much pressure to put this like whole big year in front and they organically roll out. But this year I was a little bit more aggressive on I'm going to be super healthy and I'm going to be stronger and blah, blah, blah. And I realized that you've got to slowly build in the habits into your schedule versus going full throttle, right? And you have to kind of, as you're going through any goal that you're setting for yourself, you have to kind of measure the progress that you're making and make sure that you are doing okay, right? And that it's not too much and that you can balance the new load that you're putting onto yourself or the pressure that you're putting onto yourself, okay? And how do you achieve those things? I always actually have learned over the last couple of years as I've gotten a little bit older, realizing that starting small and stacking those habits up a little bit more each day, each week, each month are actually more valuable. And sometimes by the time summer rolls around is when you've kind of really hit the stride of the habits and the good patterns or, whatever systems that you're putting into place. So remember, achieving this stuff doesn't necessarily happen in January. You're trying to set yourself up for your entire year so that your whole year is successful and fully loaded with a lot of goodness. Because when you look back at what 2025 did for you after you had set your goals in January and you slide down those 12 months and you recognize the amount of incredible work that you did both personally and professionally, or the personal growth you went through, or the growth that you gave to your team and the development and the thought leadership that you really had experienced and really grew from, you're going to be blown away. So starting small and stacking your habits one day at a time, 1 minute at a time. Sometimes days feel so heavy. So 1 minute at a time is going to help you achieve the goal. Okay. Okay. So this is a big one too, in part of achieving things, removing friction. What that means. So I'll just do it on a weekly basis to outline this pretty simple for you. If you are going to take a look at your Monday morning and it's, 5 a.m., whatever time you wake up, 5 a.m., pick up the calendar and you look, okay, what do I have this week? Some people do this on a Sunday. Some people leave their Sundays completely alone, which I respect tremendously. But Monday morning, 5 a.m., I take a look. What does my week look like? Okay. What does Monday look like? But what does Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday look like? So that you have it all laid out. You have an understanding in your mind of meetings that you have, training sessions that you have, sales calls that you have, personal appointments that you have, family obligations that you have, you name it. But prepping ahead will help you automate decisions of how your week is going to flow. So make sure that you have that mindset of your week is set where you're removing anything that could be big obstacles. Have no doubt stuff will fly into it and throw you off track a little bit. Always happens. Be able to bend so you don't break. One of my favorite sayings that I've heard. Okay. Revisiting goals quarterly to adjust. So every 3 months, I think it's a great opportunity for you to do a check to say, am I really doing a good job staying on track for my goals that were personal and professional? I think it's a wonderful check-in for yourself. I think it's important to always write this stuff down. As I said in the very beginning, if you don't write it down, you will not achieve it. Very important. And reflect on it. check in, say, okay, I'm actually doing well. All right, this area is a little bit weaker. I need to go back and check myself there. But I think every 3 months is a good opportunity, because if you have to pivot back, you have the rest of the year to continue to do it, but you don't feel like, well, I'm checking on myself every day and, did I hit this goal? I think sitting back after 3 months and going, okay, I'm doing okay. All right, I'm not doing okay here. All right, I need to let this go. This isn't going to work and this isn't serving me. It's very important to be aware of that. So I think that's, a revisit is a huge part of this. Okay. In all of your goals that you're setting, I think being present and intentional with what you're setting is extremely valuable to you. I think that goals shouldn't be about, I think any goal that you set for yourself, both personal or professional, should be about the quality of what you're choosing, not necessarily a lot, right? So I always say pick 3. Sometimes people picking 3 feels too much. Pick 2. Okay. I'm just pulling 3 because the power of 3. But I think that the quality of what you're going to choose for yourself and for your team or at your organization really matters more than the quantity. So be very focused when you're thinking about, and even if you've already set your goals and you're tuning in to hear this, recognize that. Go back and check yourself. Are these good quality goals that I can achieve? And it's not about having a ton. It's about really honing in on really what you're going to go after and how you're going to go after it. Okay. In all of this, distractions and all kinds of things pop into your goals. So make sure that you set boundaries for yourself and your team if the goals include them, because I think that matters. And I think that recognizing how to set boundaries and things that can be distracting to you and how to, take a step back are going to be extremely valuable for you in achieving the goals that you're going to go after. Okay. Remember, when you try to achieve your goals and go after them, decide what is going to give you the most energy. How do you feel when you're doing something that's towards the goal? Whatever gets your energy the best, whatever gets your mind flowing with excitement, that's a good practice to stay focused on, because you will be able to achieve your goals if you know that you're in a good space achieving whatever you're going for. Okay. As you look at your week and you see, as you tick down your 50, well, they're not 52 weeks left now. So we're at like 40, 1, 2, 3, 48 weeks left of the year. Be sure to reflect at the end of your week on how you have done. I just had a call on this. I was just talking to a client about this actually this week. Last week rather, one of the things that I think as you reflect on your week and you shut your week down and you say, okay, what was too much this week? What didn't I achieve? What do I need to achieve for next week? As you start your Monday up that next time, if you're with me on my flow calendar here, I think that it's very helpful reflecting at the end of the week, even if it's for 5 minutes on a Friday evening, and just saying, okay, and I mean like a total focus zone even before you leave the office, or if you work from home, wherever you work, writing it down or closing your eyes at your desk for a few minutes and going, okay, where was it too much? Where did I fall short? Where did I get overwhelmed? Where was I crushing it? And really reflect, because that's going to help you lead into your next week with a little bit of a clearer mindset. And these little tiny micro practices, as I will call them, are going to build up to an unbelievable year, but you have to commit to them and you have to believe that you can do it. Learning how to do all of this stuff doesn't happen at all overnight. I think I sit with this right now because I spent the last 2 years trying to focus on this. I have spent the last 2 years trying to help clients focus on this, right? And redirect themselves when they feel like they need to be redirected. And the quarterly check-ins that I was talking about with yourself and the weekly reflections that I was talking about that you should do with yourself or your team is something that if you build that practice and that habit with everybody, I think that you will start to truly understand that these micro habits will turn into a very positive, adaptable, confident end result for you. And I think that that's going to be the goal, right? Is achieving your goals and going after them. So that is that whole piece. Okay. One other big part to setting your goals that I want to lean into a little bit is sometimes people have told me that they can't hit their goals because they write them down and then they head in different directions and they weren't necessarily the right goal as the path starts. And when I said check in with yourself and make sure that you are able to achieve it, if you haven't asked yourself, how am I doing on my goals, and actually reflecting and going back to your paper and going, okay, this is what this means. Schedule your goals as if it's a meeting. Okay. If you have to put 30-minute block on your calendar and 30 minutes is going to be tackling your goal, then that is absolutely what you need to do. And you need to stay committed to it. And sometimes that helps. I literally will put every single detail of my life in my calendar so that I know I have to do it. Even if it's something mundane, like going to pick something up, it will go into my calendar at a very specific time that it works, that it fits, because I know that I can achieve it. And if you need to treat your goals like appointments for them to get done, there is nothing wrong with that. I think it's actually wonderful and it sets you up for a lot more success. So I would invite for you to do that because it will get done if you do that. Okay. When we go back and we talk about clear vision and strategic focus and stuff, we're all going to be busy this year, just like you were last year. Most likely a lot of the stuff is going to be the same mundane nonsense that you will deal with year to year that you have. Okay. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're being productive. So I want you to check in with yourself a lot this year and make sure that you are being productive enough. If you're not, call yourself on it. If you don't think your team is being productive enough, lean on them to help you become more productive. And by the way, they might want your support so they can be more productive. Talk to your team about it though, because this goal that you're going to set for yourself, these goals that you're going to set for yourself, these goals that your team is going to set for themselves is not just about working on, it's about working in, if that makes sense. Okay. So you want to make sure that you go after these things and that you set yourself up in the right channels so that you can end 2026 very successfully. Now, before I close out, because I'm doing a shorter session today, I'm just going to go into a couple of questions really quick so that we can make sure that we ask them or I can answer them. So bear with me as I expand my screen here. Okay, first question is how do you hold yourself accountable to your goals and how do you approach goals that are slipping? So number one, I write my goals down. I feel like if I write my goals down, it holds me so much more accountable. I've actually started making my children write their goals down for the year because I think that if you write it down and it's on a piece of paper and it's floating wherever it is, I have clients that put it right behind them at their desks, right on their wall. Some have them in their homes, on their kitchen cabinets. Wherever your goal needs to go, it needs to be written down. And how do I approach if I am slipping? I really do a check-in, and I either say, okay, I have failed tremendously at this, or I haven't. And if I'm slipping on it, I will try and schedule time to reflect and commit to staying true to it. I have also realized that I've had to abandon goals because they just were too much. And recognizing when something's too much, I think, is going to help you in the long run. Okay. When you recommend setting 3 personal and 3 professional goals, are those meant to be annual goals for all of 26, or more like priority goals to focus on first and then evolve as progress is made? That's a wonderful question. Okay. So the way that it's usually worked in the past is we have our big goals for the year, right? So usually I will say in 2026, I want to achieve these 3 big goals personally, and I will write them down. Under those goals, there could be micro pieces, right? So one of my goals for 2026, honestly, is to become even healthier. I am a very healthy person. I exercise daily, but I want to be stronger. I want to build more muscles. So for me, something along those lines is like a micro in my goal of being healthier. That's the how. How am I going to do that? I'm going to go to a gym and lift weights 3 times a week, et cetera, if that makes sense. So it's really personal how you want to set it up. But I do say sometimes people will be like, my goal for January is, and they have 12 months for, or 12 goals for the year because they set their goals up by the month. It's truly how you want to do it. Most important, you're writing it down, and most important, you are checking on yourself, whether it's every week, every month, every 3 months, that you're actually achieving the progress, and that you're not setting some like egregious, I'm going to become a millionaire at the end of 2026. That would be freaking amazing, right? But it's not happening. So be realistic is my point. Okay. It says, you emphasize balancing ambition and health. How do you personally assess when a goal is pushing growth versus when it starts to compromise mental, physical, or emotional well-being? Okay, really good question. Okay, so health first. Health first. I will go for a walk. Okay. And on that walk, I will be thinking about things that need to happen. I have clients who have shared with me, they're overwhelmed and they're drowning. And my number one thing is schedule a 5-10 minute walk, actually 10-minute minimum, 10-minute walk during the day. Get up, walk around, go, walk outside, walk around your office building. I don't care where the hell you walk, but walk, get outside, look up, bundle up if you're in the Northeast, bundle up if you're in, cold climates. It doesn't matter. It's actually really good for you. A 10-minute walk will allow for you to reset and calm yourself. It kicks endorphins off in your body, which will help you physically and mentally balance your emotions of whatever you are overwhelmed at. Okay. If you are overwhelmed at any point this year, please get up, pause, and walk for 10 minutes and breathe. Get outside. The sun and the sky are good for you, and they will help you give yourself a little bit more clarity. Okay, for leaders managing teams, how should they approach goal setting differently for themselves versus for their team members, especially when individual capacity and life circumstances vary? Okay, so if you are a leader, you are setting your own goals, okay? Whatever those are. You will then go to your team, okay? And you will say to your team, we're setting goals. I would like for you, team member, to set your goals 2 to 3, even if it's 1. If you have a team of, if you are I'll go burrito because that's my past. If you're a burrito company and you have team members who are rolling your burritos, chopping your ingredients, they have goals. So go to them and ask them, what are their goals? It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3 max, so that it feels real, tangible. And have them write them down and make sure that you are doing what you need to do to balance what I was talking about in the beginning with the clarity, consistency, and courage to attack these goals. Do they have the clarity of what they want to achieve? Do they have the systems in place? And if they don't have the systems, great opportunity for you to train your team so that you can make sure that the routines and the support of that goal are in place for them to hit that, right? And then making sure that you are helping them track progress, or their manager is helping track progress. It's all about checking in with your checks and balances. Everybody has very different life circumstances. You're absolutely correct. Some people's goals are going to be far more aggressive than others. We're all different. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. But making sure that your team recognizes what I was talking about, how to be successful on goals, is that they've got clarity in their goal. They've got systems in place to make sure that their habits and routines are going to support the goal, and that they are holding themselves accountable by tracking the progress and adjusting accordingly to what's not working. Okay. All right. Next question. When someone is highly motivated, how do you help them resist the urge to set too many goals at once and burn out early in the year? Well, this is just how we are as humans, right? I'll tell you, I wanted to hit minimum 16,000 steps a day. Yeah. So first week almost died because I was so exhausted and I wasn't balancing enough of the nutrition aspects of what that looked like. So listen, you might have these big gargantuan goals, and that is wonderful. But when I was saying start small and add, and after 3 months, you become stronger and you're at that space and you can keep building and go higher and higher. It's better to do it gradually than to just go gangbusters. I would say start small and build. By the end of 2026, you will have achieved and probably surpassed that goal if you start with one day at a time, one step at a time, that kind of thing. And if you burn out early, forgive yourself for it, because you see all these gyms, everybody's going to a gym, and it's a joke with people who go to gyms, like, oh, January, everybody's New Year's resolutions to work out and get in shape. And then by like the third week in January, everybody's like, I'm not going. Oh, by February, forget it. In March, like, it's gone. Just forgive yourself and check in. That's where the 3-month check-ins, quarterly check-ins are, I think, very valuable, because you're going to be able to see pretty quickly how, if you're slipping or if you're like crushing it. And the Friday reflection that I was talking about, also a good little micro dose of making sure that you're doing okay, and that you're kind of staying on task to achieve your goals. By the way, this goes without saying, but with all of these goals, I'm very aware that all of us have our actual job responsibilities. So the goals that you set for your business and your year ahead, personally and professionally, are also just add-ons to what you have to do within your year. So be mindful of that. Okay. I am aware, but be mindful of that. I feel like I kind of answered this on revisiting your goals throughout the year. I'd check in on yourself. They should not be, it says, the question is, how do you recommend revisiting goals throughout the year so that you stay relevant, so they stay relevant, don't become another source of pressure? It shouldn't be pressure. It shouldn't be pressure. Check on yourself if it is. It's supposed to, well, it could be pressure, but sometimes pressure is okay. Sometimes you're going to push yourself a little bit and you're going to sit in the uncomfortable. And I have no problem with the uncomfortable. I think that that's where you're going to really grow, and checking on yourself to make sure that you've done that. Are you staying with your patterns and habits? Are you really doing what you need to do to achieve those? Are those tangible goals? Make sure. But you might have to sit in a little bit of an uncomfortable pressure zone sometimes, because you might not be doing enough. I'm going to take one more question here. And okay. So you talk about ambition and health needing to coexist. Is there a goal you've set for 2026 that reflects that balance that you think most people would benefit from adopting? So my number one goal for 2026 is health. Um, I said it, I'm healthy, but thank God. But I think without our health, we have nothing. And whether that's the use of all of our body, our arms, our legs, if you take one of those out because you injure it or something, you're going to not have a lot of energy to you're going to have a tough mindset to get through that, right? So making sure that you are feeding your soul with good sunshine, some fresh air, it really gives you a lot of clarity, and I think helps you have a clearer mindset on how you can balance anything that's thrown your way. So I think my number one suggestion and challenge for all of you for 2026, and I leave it at this, is that I would like for you all to get outside a little bit more, go for a walk, call a friend, ask a friend to go to for a walk, ask a colleague to walk and get lunch, walk and eat lunch, do anything, but get outside a little bit more, look up, put your phone away, and enjoy a little bit more sunshine and fresh air. And I really have a good feeling that you will build those tiny little habits. Even if you say you're going to do it 3 times a week, I'd be psyched to hear that you did it twice. As a matter of fact, I would like to know if anybody's going to do this. I think that 5 to 10 minutes isn't a lot of time. And I think at the end of that 10 minutes, when you get back to your desk or the nonsense of whatever you have to deal with that day, you're going to be really glad that you went for that 10-minute walk. And it's going to make you healthier, and it's going to have you clear your mind a little bit more and allow for you to have a little bit more balance in your day-to-day. So that is my session for January. And don't worry if you don't have goals. Think about some things that you wish had happened in 2025 to find those goals, and you can make them for 26. And that is all for me today. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you in February, where we will be starting out really talking about what's in store for the end of your winter as you head into the springtime and the days are getting longer, the sun's out longer. Get out for a walk and have a wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I appreciate it. Take care.